everyone. On my forehead. Girl.
Alright, we're gonna start it. Here we go. This is also English translations, so let me also turn it down a bit. It was only when she was stung in the old apiary, a place that had once held their sweetest memories, as venom surged through her veins and she writhed at the brink of life and death, that Melly Plinius finally understood that the final metamorphosis of human nature is always born from betrayal. Alright, let's see. We've already seen like the in-game model from the teaser they did, and it's honestly already like pretty good. I'm scared though. Dude, her in-game model looks really good. Also, I need to turn it down here, and then I can bring it up here. It's just so loud for me. Alright. Oh no! Everything's already going wrong. Her in-game model is so good. Okay. External trait, swarm of insects. Queen bee and her swarm of insects exist in a symbiotic bond. The swarm remains active throughout the match and can shift between several states. In dormant state, the swarm of insects does not affect survivors. So she can... Okay. So if it's dormant, it just doesn't do anything. Predatory state. When in the swarm of insects moves, it enters predatory state. In this state, touching a survivor drains 18 energy from them, granting Queen Bee the assimilation effect, which increases movement speed by 18% for 2 seconds. Kind of crazy. And that can only be done every 1 second. So this is like Van Daniel, if you jump on my desk, you're gonna PMO. So let's see. I need to just play through it. We'll just play through it. And then we'll do analysis. So once it's moving and it touches her, then she gains that move speed. But it has to be moving. That's so cool. And when her swarm is attached to her, her interaction speed is faster. Okay. Just showing how she can move it, I guess. Ooh. That's actually a lot faster than it looked like. Okay. Wait, and she can go through... Wait, she can go through walls. Oh my gosh! Oh my gosh! Wait, that's kind of crazy. Hello? That's actually kind of crazy. The geisha power creep, no truly. Whoa! Oh wait, this wasn't shown? This is sick! And she can go, oh my gosh, bruh, she's actually kind of nuts. That's so sick, dude. That's so sick. She's everything. She's serving everything. They gave her so much more mobility than I thought they would. If I'm so honest. Dude, it's sick. It's sick. Hello? Ooh, that's also fast. Wait, that's... Hold on. Sorry for skipping. But that's really fast chip damage. Because she consumes to shoot a stinger and then shoots another one immediately after. So that's pretty quick. That's pretty quick chip damage. That's kind of crazy. Oh, I love her design. The in-game model does her so much justice. That's so sick. Tears in my eyes. No, rest in peace. Dude, she seems really strong. She definitely seems strong. Okay. Okay, let's analyze this a bit more. Let's look at descriptions of stuff. Let's analyze this more. Obviously, we have her in-game model. Again, I think her in-game model does her a lot of justice. Hey, Melly, so man hasn't come home yet. Surely you will. Ivy needs a partner main. I said this last stream. I am absolutely going to be spending money on her essence. We're not going to talk about how she went after everybody except journalist. Lesbian, true. So obviously we know this one. Whenever it's dormant, aka not moving, it kind of does nothing. It won't slow them down. It won't give you the speed boost. It does nothing. As long as it's just stationary. So pretty cool. But in this state, when touching a survivor, it drains energy from them. So my question is, so clearly the way that you get energy is by this interaction, right? Which means, are survivors going to have to manage a resource? Or is it just going to kind of be a resource bar that they have that does nothing? For them, at least. Because obviously, she has no energy, and she gets energy whenever they pass through. And that's how you get the energy to do... That's actually really, really cool, in my opinion. Because obviously, you have to consume energy to do your fly. You have to consume energy to do your chip damage. You have to consume energy to do like that swarm mode that lets you move really quick. It's really cool that this is how you regenerate it, because you're gonna actually need, and someone who's not experienced and not like locked in on how she works isn't going to be able to do all of this like hyper aggressive stuff, because you need to lock in and get your energy before you can hit the combos that you need to hit, you know? She feels even more aggressive than Hullabaloo, like with the map traversal she has camping with her. She has camping with her would be stupid, I agree. I feel like she has, I mean, she's already designed as a chase hunter, but she has a lot of, I mean, yeah, a lot of map traversal. Like we saw, her flight thing lets her go through walls, which is, I didn't personally fully expect that, but I'm not going to complain. But yeah, I really like how this energy, her energy mechanic works. I think it's very, it'll be a, it's a good way to not make her seem so, I don't know, boring compared to a bunch of other characters. Because like with Violetta and Wax Artist, their energy works the exact same. But with Queen Bee, it's going to be, you know, it's going to be much different. And honestly, frankly, much cooler. And also, whenever touching a survivor, you get 18% movement speed for 2 seconds. Which, if you just have this swarm like constantly around this survivor, because the same survivor can only be affected again after 1 second. So you can technically have this 18% speed buff up permanently, assuming I'm understanding this correctly, because like, surely, right? You just kind of keep the swarm on them as they're running, because you can move the swarm back towards you too. You don't just move it forward, you can move it back, so you can just kind of keep it on them and constantly have that 18% speed boost, no? That's kind of crazy as well. So he's probably frothing at the mouth. I would not be surprised. This is so sick, though. But yeah, so you can move it like back and forth. Surely you can move it forward and backwards, too. This is cool as well. Synergy state. When the swarm of insects is actively recalled, it enters synergy state, merging with Queen Bee. During synergy state, her vaulting speed increases by 10%. This is kind of bad wording. Or maybe it's like a translation error, because it's clearly 10% interaction bonus, because she's obviously not vaulting, but she damages it. She breaks it 10% faster. I don't think it's necessarily like the craziest speed buff, but it's definitely going to help her a lot. For sure. This is so sick. Oh no, this isn't the same one. Okay. So my question is, how is this even going to work? By holding the ability button, Queen Bee directs the swarm of insects movement along a chosen path. The swarm of insects travels at 15 meters per second with a maximum range of 28 meters. She can set a new path at any time to override the current one, or click the button again to recall a dispersed swarm of insects. So this is confusing to me. Oh no, I understand. So it's not necessarily it's not you just it's not following your cursor, essentially. You have to actually place it down, like how we saw in the other teaser. You have to actually place the marker down for it to move. Or I think what it is, I think this is how it works. I think it follows the cursor automatically, because if you look here, you can see that this is like a perfectly straight line. But just a few seconds later, you can see the path is very... It's weird. It doesn't look like it's following a path. It looks like it's following just where the cursor went. But later on, when it does that, you can see that it, you know, it turns to go up there. So I wonder if it's setting down a marker specifically and also letting it like follow the cursor if it has no marker, maybe? I don't know. This is also cool. This is her. This looks a lot better than what we saw in the teaser. Okay. Because in the teaser it looked a lot slower, and it looks like they buffed the movement speed of the projectile, which is, in my opinion, very, very good. But you spend 35 energy to condense a stinger, which will launch forward after a short delay, and if it hits the survivor along its path, it deals 0.5 damage, aka chip damage. So yeah, it definitely looks a lot faster. I'm curious, what's the range on this? Is this like... Is this any range, pretty much? This is also crazy. This is... I feel like her chip damage and stuff generally isn't that crazy. This might be the best part of her kit. Is these movement capabilities in general. What if you can teleport around Moonlit like this? I'm 100% positive. And I'm sure you could also like teleport up into a second story on Moonlight, or on this map as well. I wouldn't be surprised. You do have to make sure you have your energy management is going to be super important on her. But this is just super, super sick. And look how far you can fly. That's insane. That's so crazy. And it's not just how far, it's also this speed is pretty quick. Yeah, I don't think... Obviously, we can't really tell based on, like, not playing it, because we're watching someone else play it. It's kind of difficult to gauge how it will be personally for energy management. I don't think it will ultimately be that difficult. I think it'll end up being, frankly, very easy to build up energy. Just given how the stats look. But we'll have to see whenever we play her. There is one part of her kit I'm honestly kind of genuinely worried about. I'm kind of genuinely worried about this. I'm a bit worried about this. At the end of reciprocation, while switching back to her main body, Queen Bee can spend 15 energy to fire a stinger with no delay. This is obviously a very good thing. It lets you use your swarm teleport for 15 energy and then shoot the stinger for another 15. So it's cheaper than using one stinger, right? This combo itself is cheaper energy-wise, which is good, right? But I'm worried about how fast it is. And also in this instance, you're only really spending 15 energy to do this. Because if you're doing it in the way they do it here, you are obviously commanding the swarm closer, and then you jump, or what happens is you put the swarm over the survivor, which gives you more energy, and then you travel to it and then shoot the stinger. So you're consuming a total of 30 energy, but you're gaining an extra 18 with this combo. Yes, you can go through walls. Look at how crazy this is, Fizzy. This is insane. Like, it's a low-key kind of crazy. Like, her map traversal gets even better. Just watch. This next one, Like, it's crazy. Watch how cool this is. I'm going to read it first. When flight ends, Queen Bee forms a hive cluster. She can control the cluster to move at 12 meters per second, which is... I actually want to look at something real quick. IDV, Dream Witch. Is this faster than Dream Witch main body? It's... Yes, it is. It's not just faster, it's 2 times as fast as her main body. That's kind of crazy. After being in this state for 0.5 seconds, energy will begin draining at 6 per second, which obviously, like, this is... I honestly don't know if this is, like, necessarily too OP. It honestly sounds more balanced than it, you know, appears, in my opinion. But Queen Bee can end this state by voluntarily switching back to her main body, spending 10 and 20 energy to fire an instant stinger, or when energy drops to 0. The skill cooldown is 18 seconds. Yeah, this is really, really, really fast. This is very, very, very fast. And she can go through windows. Her chip damage is going to be a lot better than I thought it was. Like, her chip damage is going to be a lot better than I thought it was. I honestly want to try and do a chip-only playstyle with her because of how good her chip damage is going to be. Like, I guarantee you, if you're good enough at her, you could probably play an entire match, get a 4K with only doing chip damage. Probably. Just given how strong this is, especially at full presence. Yeah, I'm definitely going to try that video idea, but I would be very surprised if people run confined space on her. I'd be very surprised. I think generally, honestly, I don't know. I feel like detention is just going to be good on her, mainly for, you know, the speed that you'd end up getting. But honestly, maybe insolence on her. Maybe. Because I don't think you really would need trump card, because in most situations when you need trump card, it's to swap to, like, warp or TP or something, right? But she really doesn't need either of those because of how mobile her kit is. And with blocking windows, you don't really need to either because you just can absolutely destroy windows. Like, she doesn't really get that affected by Survivor's vaulting windows at all. Because you can go over windows, presumably I think you can also go over pallets. So honestly, detention inso might be her typical, which is cool because we haven't seen a hunter who, you know, loves bringing insolence in a while, at least in my opinion. But this is so sick. Also, like, if we, I don't think I can bring it up now. Like, I can't bring up the video now, but like, if you like go look for the teaser that we got, I'm so confident that she's faster in general. Like, obviously I've mentioned her stingers are faster, but this is 100%, it's so much faster. Oh, that's really dope. This is so sick though. I'm very excited to play her. Her kit, honestly, like, it doesn't seem like too complicated. Like, from a purely, what's the word I'm thinking of? From a purely descriptive standpoint, it doesn't feel that complicated. It's going to be more tricky in practice, I think. And her, like, if we compare, like, Lanternist, she doesn't have that much complexity in her kit. So this says, Queen Bee spends 35 energy to condense a stinger, will launch forward after a short delay, blah, blah, blah. It doesn't say there's a cooldown. And obviously we saw later on that she just fires 2 super quick. So there's no cooldown on stingers. It's just, if you have the energy to do it, you can do it, right? So she does technically have the best chip hunter, like, she has the best chip, the most consistent chip hitting out of pretty much all the chip hunters, I think. I know none of the ranged chip hunters, aside from, yeah, maybe Gala. Gala might... Of course, Gala's a lot trickier to do chip damage, I would argue. There's a lot more you have to think about, where with Queen Bee, all you really have to do, it's just a projectile. And she definitely clears every projectile-based chip hunter that we have. I'm so serious. Which, I mean, rest in peace to Ripper and Violetta, but also I'm kind of glad it was Melly who did this. But yeah, I think she has the best ranged chip potential out of all the chip hunters. Um, I'm curious to see if there will be a combo for camping at chair. Since there's no chip cooldown, if you have enough energy, you could just chip hit twice at chair and then insta down. Yeah, Ripper is over. It's over. Yeah, I can imagine that'll be a strat that people end up doing. I don't think people should end up camping a lot with her though, and I don't think people will end up camping with her super often. But I definitely think that when the time is necessary, it will be very strong. I think the key to being good at this character is definitely 100% going to be energy management and knowing when you need to like play more aggressive and also, you know, when you need to just grab energy. Sorry, team, I just hit my cable. I'd imagine she starts with 0 energy, so she has to like, you know, bring up her energy as she goes. See, here's another interesting question. When does she get her chip damage? Because if she gets her chip damage on first presence, I don't think she does. I think her chip damage is immediate, and her yeah, okay, this is probably just basing on what we see in the top right and also what we see in the, you know, UI. Her chip damage is likely given at the start, and then her fly is given at presence 1, and then at full presence it's upgraded somehow. I don't know if it's shown how it's upgraded. I remember. Her full pres should be the zoom zooms, the swarm transform. She is so fast. She's moving so fast that it's taking a while for things in the map to generate. That's how fast she's going. This is a good visual representation on how quick you can bring up your energy, because obviously we can't see the bar, but if you watch, boom, energy proc, right? Him doing that animation, energy proc, energy proc, energy proc. Anytime you do that animation, and I said it earlier but I didn't like actually explain, watch the wings on her back. So obviously they go away, but as soon as she gains energy, boom, that shows up. And that's not necessarily like her getting the energy, that's like indicative of her movement speed buff, but it's your visual as well for getting energy, right? I'm glad it's also not like super insane movement speed. Like it's an 18% buff, which is good, but it's only for 2 seconds, which really is not that crazy. Granted, you can reapply it very quickly. I think W keying against her is going to be the worst possible decision you can make, because if you make predictable movement, and I feel like she's gonna have issues. I feel like she's gonna have issues and people are not gonna enjoy playing against her at all. People are going to complain a lot. I can already imagine. Imagine you are taking first kite and she uses a swarm with no speed penalty for controlling it. In fact, she gets the speed bonus for controlling it. But while controlling it, she is constantly chasing you, reapplying this buff to herself. And you can't W key to another pallet or another loop, because she just has almost 100% uptime on this 18% speed buff. People are not going to enjoy that. I guarantee it. They are not going to have fun, especially since the controlling is, quite frankly, very quick. You can't outrun this swarm at all. It's impossible. I think the only way you would be able to outrun it is if you used rugby ball. That's the only way you would be able to outrun it. And even then, it's still super quick. But it is impossible to outrun this at normal survivor speeds. For only 15 energy, she can go across the map on an only 18-second cooldown, by the way. That's... Whoa! Oh, I just thought of something. You can place your swarm by chair and keep it there. Because she's not able to control it this far away, right? She's not able to control her swarm this far away. But she is able to just leave it at that cipher and then go to it. You could leave your swarm at chair, unless they have some sort of mechanic similar to like how Gamekeeper can't put traps by chair. which I imagine hopefully they'll end up doing something like that, but you never know. But she can leave her swarm at chair and go out and be aggressive. Um, and as long as she has the energy for it, she can just go back to chair when they're saving. So she actually might end up being really good with peepers so that you can see when they're actually going in. You could also, like, for example, whenever endgame is going, you can leave your hive at a gate while you're checking the other one. Or obviously, if you need to guard a cipher, you can keep your hive at a cipher while you're going out and, aggressive on someone. You down them, but the team is about to pop the cipher. You chair them quickly and just fly back to the cipher and interrupt it. She has insane map pressure. Oopsies. Oopsies. IDV makes a chase-based hunter, but also has insane map pressure. I'm trying to think of what traits, what like mini abilities she wants, because she doesn't really need warp or teleport. I imagine she also won't really, she's going to be a hunter that's not going to need blink. It'll work on her, but she's really not going to need it, I don't think. I think peepers will end up being pretty good on her. Obviously, listen is listen. It's probably not going to work. Patroller, I imagine, wouldn't be that crazy. Wait, what if listen is genuinely viable on her? I mean, you don't really need patroller to farm energy though, because the swarm is so fast already. And if you get close enough to a survivor, you're gonna want to hit them anyways. In most cases, you should be able to manage your energy enough to where you don't need to sacrifice getting a hit over getting more energy. You know what I mean? And just because of how fast she is in general, I don't think you'll need peepers either, or patroller, for slowdown at all. I think peepers will genuinely be good on her. Abnormal, obviously, might be good. Then excitement also could be good. I'm curious to know, based on how other people end up playing against her, stunning might be really good. We never know, depending on how it interacts with certain things in her kit. But excitement might be good to bring on her. I genuinely think, just off the top of my head, peepers will probably be the best, with blink in second place. And I'm so serious. I am going to end up trying listen on her on release, because you're going to need to kind of be in chase all the time. And if you have the ability that lets you find people who are, being too loud, it could be really good to find chase, just in my opinion, because she really does, again, she doesn't need to bring warp or teleport because of her swarm. And since that's an 18-second cooldown, you can get like what, 3 or 4 of those off in either of warp or teleport's cooldown. And both of them, like, your swarm can be cross map. She literally just power creeps both teleport and warp, if you use it correctly, obviously. But yeah, she won't need either of those as long as she sets up her swarm. Blink, again, I really don't think is going to be needed on her. I don't think Blink is necessarily crazy good on most chip hunters, like most ranged chip hunters. So yeah, I don't think she'll really need it. But I think it'll be viable. Peepers, again, probably going to be the best. And I genuinely want to try listen on her, because I think it might actually be viable. What did I miss? Oh, she just power creeps every chip hunter in the game, and also power creeps teleport and warp, and has the ability to move double the speed as Dreamwitch main body. So nothing too crazy. Hey, it's okay. Survivors are getting giga buffed in season 40. We can have an OP hunter, okay? Let this hunter go through without any changes. I agree, Punky. I really hope she doesn't get nerfed. Like, and I'm just gonna be real here, okay? I'm just gonna be real. We let Amanda go through test servers without receiving any nerfs. And survivors got buffed like crazy for season 40. If NetEase nerfs this character in test servers before she releases, it's confirming the suspicions that NetEase just hates hunter players. It's just the truth. NetEase, just embrace your inner I don't give a gaff energy that you've been having recently with characters and nerfs and buffs, and just don't touch her. Let her go through test servers and just see what happens. I really don't think we have enough people in test servers to properly judge So we might as well just let her be like this on release and then let the community decide what she needs after like maybe 2 or 3 weeks. The only real issue that people are going to have is this instance. She's chasing this novelist and she's far away. So she uses her swarm and just keeps it on this guy and gets essentially a permanent 18% speed boost. So she's going to feel pretty quick, right? And I genuinely think that's the only issue people are going to have. Like the only issue that's valid, at least. If you have any other issue with this character, um, I hate to say it, it might be a skill issue, if I'm being honest. I think, okay, there's two things that I think I would be okay with some sort of adjustments to, and that's this situation here and the no cooldown on her chip damage. I don't think it's going to be an issue because it's such a high energy cost thing. You're not going to have that many instances where it's viable to use 2 chip hits in a row, especially if you end up missing. So I don't think it's going to be that much of an issue, but I think that's something that could be nerfed. Give it like a 1 second cooldown. And I think that's okay. I don't think it's going to ruin her if they do that. And with this, I admittedly don't know how they could adjust this to make it less obnoxious for the survivor side. Because obviously you can't outrun this swarm. The swarm can go through pallets and windows, so you can't break like LOS that way. It's frankly too fast to lose. Um, and yeah, you know, she can just permanently have that 18% speed buff. She's speedy, but I think people can adapt to it. I mean, Opera Singer exists and people adapted. The thing with that, though, is the whole way people end up being able to adapt to Opera Singer is the counter is kind of obvious. You know, Opera Singer likes being near the walls, right? So what do you do when you're kiting Opera Singer? Just don't go to walls. Just kite in open areas. And she can't jump to a wall you're at because you're not at a wall. But with this, there's literally zero possibility to lose the swarm, which means there's zero possibility to lose the speed buff, pretty much, as long as you're constantly controlling it. I think a good way to change it is maybe make the, because I don't think you, okay, let me explain myself here. I think the best way to do this, to go about nerfing this, if you need to, is nerf her ability to get that speed boost, but don't touch her ability to regen energy. So her energy regen should stay as it is with the same cooldown, but the cooldown for getting your speed boost should be more like 5 to 7 seconds, right? Like you can still get that energy procs every like 2 seconds ish, but if you want to adjust the speed itself, bringing it higher, I think could be fine. Because if you end up touching the energy recharge, she's going to feel awful to play. Like truly, truly awful to play. I guarantee it. But if you end up nerfing how much speed she can maintain, I think that would be fine. And that would be probably arguably the best way to nerf this potential issue. You know what I mean? If you want to nerf this specifically, I think you could have it so that it consumes more energy the further you fly. You know what I mean? That would be probably arguably the best way to nerf this, is to have it cost more energy the further you are away from your swarm. I think the cooldown honestly is going to end up being fine. It's fast compared to things like Warp or TP, but the cooldown isn't the only it's not the only thing you need to have in consideration with this ability, because you obviously have to have in consideration your energy and what you're using for energy. And if your swarm isn't near you because you've placed it at chair, you're not able to regen energy, right? So if you're using the ability this way, with the intention to like, oh yeah, I'm going to teleport over when I need to. If you don't have energy, you can't do that. And your swarm is just kind of sitting there doing nothing.